Hey, what's up guys? How are we all doing? Back with another video.
Hi guys.
I hope you all had a good Christmas and a good New Year.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I feel like it's been that long since we've done.
Yeah, first video of the New Year,
obviously.
So the pig war. Do you know anything about the pig war? I know very little about the pig war, if I'm completely honest.
No, and I'm going to be really disappointed because I love pigs and I feel like I'm not going to see any.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same as the emu war. Do you remember that when the Australians bit? That was a good video.
The emu war. Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the last OverSimplified that we haven't done. If I'm correct.
Okay, so we've not done any more.
No, I don't think so. I think this is like the only one we haven't done. Yeah, but to be honest, I know very little about the pig war. I know it's Britain and America, I think.
Oh, okay. I was trying to work out why it would be called the pig war, and I thought obviously it's not about pigs. I thought, is it to do with police?
I think it's pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's after the American Revolution.
Oh, okay.
It obviously be after the American Revolution, but right. Thank you all for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Drop the comments below. You know what you want to see. Anything really. We don't really mind, do we?
No. It's nice to maybe see about doing something a little bit different things.
Yeah. We're going to get straight on with this, and we'll try not to talk too much because I know that is something we like to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have a good chat.
Was made possible by NordVPN. Click the link below to stay safe online and get a huge discount off a 2-year plan with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Trouble sleeping? Need someone to snuggle? Then why not snuggle me? The limited edition OverSimplified plushie is available for pre-order for a few days only. Get it quick along with some beautiful new character pins.
I'm going to keep this subtitles on.
Look at us, boys. We've only gone and bloody done it. We beat the Brits and secured independence. Now to expand westward and conquer the rest of the continent. Thomas? It looks like a bunch of different people already live out west. What? Oh no. Okay. That means we can't expand. I hate my life. Whoa. I didn't say they were white people.
Yes.
At the end of the Revolutionary War, when the United States secured its independence from Great Britain, the two sides met in Paris to settle the terms. Among various things, they discussed American territorial gains, and the British granted them a generous amount of land out west. However, Benjamin Franklin appeared to have an additional fascination. Oh, Canada. So voluptuous. You think we can maybe acquire some of that? Quit ogling our territory. But look at those curves. I'd worry less about Canada's curves and more about your own curves, Benjamin. America suggested that one day the Canadian colonies should become a part of the United States.
I didn't know that Benjamin Franklin had anything to do with like the political side of anything. I just thought he was like an inventor.
No, he had a lot to do with the American Revolution.
Oh, okay. I thought like he wasn't anything to do with politics.
He's one of the founding fathers of America.
I feel like I knew that, but I thought it was just because he was an inventor, and they were like, "You've invented such a good thing, we're going to make you a founding father."
No. He was probably say pivotal to like the American Revolution. The spacebar's not working.
Curves and more about your own curves, Benjamin. Many in America suggested that one day the Canadian colonies should become a part of the United States. In response, Britain suggested that many in America should shut the hell up. Well, if Britain wasn't going to give up Canada, then the two sides had to agree on where to put their border. Easy enough for the most part. Follow some existing borders, add in a few rivers and lakes, maybe even a parallel for good measure. But then there was a question. What would happen here? Straight line. And so it was. The border would go from the northwesternmost point of this perfectly oval-shaped lake and continue in a straight line westward until it met the Mississippi River. Perfect. Or was it? Well, as it turned out, the lake didn't actually look like this, but like this. And the Mississippi wasn't here, but here. So in the end, none of that made even the slightest bit of sense. Don't blame the founding fathers. They were just using the best map available. Blame the guy who made it. But to the minds of the day, the issue had been solved, and it was finally time to start getting along. Oh, back to war they go. The Glorious War of 1812 saw the Americans.
I'm quite excited for this because I know so little about this, and this is like a big part of. Well, it's a bigger part of American history than it is British history, obviously.
Yeah, I didn't even know Britain. So did Britain own Canada?
Yeah.
Or like, so
Yeah, Britain.
Canada was English.
No, Britain and Canada too. I think just after World War One.
Oh, okay. So then obviously...
That's probably wrong. I don't know when Canada's independence was, but yeah, Canada's British colony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that people in Canada are British descendants then?
Not, kind of, but not necessarily.
Issue had been solved, and it was finally time to start getting along. Oh, back to war they go. The Glorious War of 1812 saw the Americans try to invade Canada, and the British burn down the White House. But when all was said and done, it was pretty much a draw. And once again, America and Britain had to enter into peace negotiations. By now, both sides realized the original border they came up with was a piece of hot garbage. And since America had also recently obtained a huge amount of land from Napoleon, they decided they would need to re-examine the border issue. Straight line, straight line. And so it was. To fix the problems of the previous border agreement, they decided to go from the northwesternmost point of this lake, as had been previously agreed, down to the 49th parallel, and from there the line would go straight as an arrow up until the Rocky Mountains. But beyond the Rockies, the two sides couldn't quite agree on where it would go next, because both sides claimed the territory beyond the Rockies was theirs. See, throughout its early history, America as a nation had its eyes heavily fixated on all that juicy land out west, ripe for invasion. Settlementation. America wanted to expand.
You could just give it to whoever's in yellow and just be like, let's not fight over it, you guys.
No, because that's Mexico.
Oh.
Yeah, and you know the Americans aren't going to let that happen.
They weren't going to let
they ain't going to let Mexicans have nothing.
But they should just cut that in half, shouldn't they? Like, why? They should just...
Well, they went all the way down to, like, here-ish. Like, this is, like, where Texas is nowadays, isn't it? Around here.
Oh, okay. So some states that are now were actually originally technically Mexican.
Yeah, because, like, this would have been, like, New Mexico here. Oh, wait, that's wrong. Huh. I don't know, but, like, here's California. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Ripe for invasion. Settlementation. America wanted to expand. Not only was it their right, some believed it was a destiny given to them by God himself to multiply and spread across the continent, like rats or disease. Okay, guys, just before we take over everything, God definitely said this is what we're meant to do, right? Yeah, that's what he said, right? Isn't that what he said? And who was it who spoke to God? It was Billy, right? I thought it was Sharon's cat. I hear voices all the time. Well, it was one of us. There's no way we made this whole thing up to justify a ruthless collective imperialist tendencies. All right. Well, in that case, let's get out there and make the world a better place, just as God intended. This belief in divinely destined expansion would be given its very own name. Manifest Destiny. But America wasn't the only one interested in controlling the Western territories. At the time, Canada was made up of a number of colonies, collectively referred to as British North America. This one over here was owned by the Hudson's Bay Company, a British charter company dedicated to turning as many beavers as possible into as many felt hats as possible as quickly as possible, and the indigenous people became a key supplier. As a result, the British were also eager to control the land out west and secure that region's valuable resources, and in particular, the Great Columbia River was deemed vital to the beaver business. So when it came to the question of what would happen to the border beyond the Rockies, the conversation went a little like this. The line...
Who wouldn't want to be in the beaver business? Yeah, sorry.
To the beaver business. So when it came to the question of what would happen to the border beyond the Rockies, the conversation went a little like this. The line should keep going straight because we're manifestly destined to gain the entire North American continent. No, we need this river so we can keep scalping beavers. Look, why don't we just draw the border along the river? That way we both have access to it. Well, that would be a completely fair compromise that protects the interests of both parties. And there's no way I'm ever going to agree to it! Having come to a roadblock, both sides simply agreed that for now, they would jointly occupy the Northwestern Territory. They were both free to settle and trade there. But rest assured, the agreement was only temporary. Eventually somebody would get their way. Listen, Yank, we can jointly occupy this land, but I ain't sharing anything else. I don't want to see you using my toothbrush. I don't want to catch you wearing my underwear. And I don't want to catch you using my computer. and selling my data to advertisers. Well, then you, my friend, should use NordVPN.
I'm gonna plug it.
Do you like giving
I
strangers
feel like
access to your most
yeah, I
important
feel
online
like I was kind of
accounts?
waiting for the moment where they're going to get it in
And that's why
somewhere.
I
You always
use
manage to do, don't you?
Yeah.
NordVPN
That's
is
it. I
a
don't feel
secure
like.
service
I know,
in over
like
60
in terms of like British
allowing
history
you
at
to safely
schools,
surf the net at the
we
fastest
don't
speed
really
possible.
talk
It works
about
across
well
all
in
your
our
devices,
history books,
so you're
right? If
protected
you're
on
not
the go,
from here,
even
we're the
safely,
good guys in our history
simultaneously.
books.
And it's
Perfect.
super
Yeah,
easy
to
to
be fair.
use.
Yeah,
With just
we're the
click of
good
a button,
guys.
You can head on.
But we don't really. You might be surprised. We don't touch upon the Empire at all at school, do we?
There's a lot of stuff that I feel like we don't do at school.
Yeah, but considering it's like I get why they don't. First of all, there's a lot to cover, like which country do you start with, which one of the colonies do you start with. I get all that, and there's this kind of whole like negative like undertone about learning about the Empire, and I get there was a lot of bad done. Look, there was certainly a lot of good done as well, in my opinion. But yeah, it's not something we ever really touch on. We kind of just go from like probably what you guys go through, like we do.
World War One.
Well,
World War Two.
well, like when we're in primary school, like when you're little, we do like the Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians. Do you
Yeah,
do all
and
that?
Vikings.
And the Vikings, yeah, we do that. And then when you get to like at the top end of that, we do like the Tudors, the Victorians, kind of like kind of like the Industrial Revolution at school. Do a bit of that. We do a lot of that, but to tell you the truth, like
I remember doing that for years.
it's so boring. Like you know, like when you first move on to a fresh history topic, it's like, oh, this is cool. But
I like the Tudors.
yeah, you literally do it for 2 years though, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not that interesting. It's talking about like the socio-economic overhaul of Britain and its effect on like the industries. And when you're 13, you're like, whatever, man. Like you want to see someone get shot, don't you? That's what.
No, I like that.
Really?
All the stuff, yeah, and like I like the changes and stuff through that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. But I used to get like remember them Horrible Histories magazines?
Yeah.
My dad set me up like the subscription to that, so
Yeah,
every
nice.
week I'd get them, so that was
Nice.
really good. But other than the generic things that we learn in school, a lot of the things that we've done on the Oversimplified videos, you know about it because you've took the time out to learn
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And like I feel like that shows the difference where I don't know it because I don't.
Yeah. It's just interesting wearing like seeing history where we're not necessarily the good guys in it, which is like every other country would kind of look at us like that, possibly, other than like maybe Portugal or some countries that we've been allies with a long time.
Over to South Korea and watch every single BTS video known to mankind. With NordVPN, you no longer need to worry about those shady websites, annoying pop-ups, or undesired eyes spying on your browsing history. And you can even unlock content that's been blocked in your country, like this video. It even comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee.
That's exactly what
So
we
why not
used it
go to
for.
nordvpn.com/oversimplified to get a 2-year plan with a huge discount.
I don't.
plus
I
an
know I said it
additional
in the past
month
video. I
for
think I
free.
don't agree with
And
blocking
as always, you'll be
educational
supporting my
things like
channel.
that.
No.
So thank you. Now where were we? Oh yeah. Bickering over boundaries, manifesting destiny, and a joint occupation of Oregon. And one man living here who felt the territory should be British was James Douglas, the Hudson's Bay Company's no-nonsense chief factor at Fort Vancouver. Ah, what a beautiful, unspoiled corner of the British Empire. I've got my spotted dick, my Spice Girls fan club membership, and an unrelenting negative outlook on life that affects everyone around me. What are you looking at, Stephen? Yes. Truly British.
Yeah.
What the?
Nothing beats being miserable.
I love complaining.
Yeah.
The problem for men like Douglas
Hey,
is that
like,
many Americans
just quickly, I feel like that's why British and Americans struggle to get on that thing. Americans to us just seem so happy about everything, and it's like it's not that we're not happy. It's just like you're visibly happy.
So enthusiastic.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever visibly happy, like out in public.
Really? Oh.
I'm just like, yeah, you're right, mate. Yeah, sound, yeah,
Yeah,
like,
you're friendly.
yeah, how you been? Oh, I love shit, innit? Yeah, shit, mate. And then you just carry on about your day. And literally, like, innit?
Yeah, I suppose everyone comes in and they're like, oh, it's cold out there, isn't it? I hate winter. And you're like, yeah, me too, hate it.
Hate winter. Yeah. You go in the summer. I hate the summer. It's too hot, innit? Yeah, shit, innit? Yeah, shit, mate. And then you just carry on with your day, but you're not actually in a bad mood. It's funny, innit?
Oh, it's so true.
had already begun streaming up the Oregon Trail, gun slinging, howdy neighboring, and diarrhea having. By the thousands, they were pouring into the Oregon Territory in search of land to settle and farm. This, however, crowded out the fur trade, and eventually, a very bitter Douglas and the other Hudson's Bay traders at Fort Vancouver were ordered to relocate north to a new base of operations. But the Americans keep coming and they don't stop coming. Hopped in their wagons and they hit the ground running. Didn't make sense to keep sharing Oregon when they outnumbered the Brits more than 6-1. And suddenly, the whole joint occupation deal was being called into question. Newly elected President Polk maintained that America had an obvious claim to the entire region, even implying a possible war with Britain. Fiery language from U.S. senators declared that American rifles would annihilate the Hudson's Bay Company in Oregon, and America even gave Britain notice that it was pulling out of the joint occupation agreement. The British were alarmed as the two sides stood on the brink of war. But in the end, neither truly wanted to fight. The British favored maintaining good economic relations, while the Americans had already gotten themselves into a war with Mexico. So after a bit of back and forth, the British finally said,
"Is it true, Americans? Any Americans in the video, you may know this. Is it true that throughout America's entire history, they've only had 6 years of peace?
What? There hasn't been a war?
Yeah, I feel like that may be more now that because I know there wasn't a war when Trump was in office. I don't think. Well, there technically was, but he didn't start a new war. So maybe it's like 1 year of peace or 2.
That's insane.
That's insane, isn't it?
That's crazy.
I almost don't believe it. Is that true? I know I could just Google it, but it's more fun just to ask people innit, and get your perspective on it. No, genuine though, innit? Yeah, I heard it the other day and I was like, that is insane.
Straight line? There's your straight line. And so, the agreement was made. The border would continue directly to the Strait of Georgia, but because the British insisted they keep Vancouver Island, it would then move south through the center of the channel and on to the Pacific Ocean. Finally, the issue of the northwest border had been solved. Hold the phone. Discrepancy detected. Enhance frame, 200%.
Oh no.
Oh my god, that's Star Wars Battlefront.
Enhance. Oh, too far. Perfect. Now, show me the exact wording of the treaty. The line of boundary goes to the middle of the channel, and thence southerly through the middle of said channel? But there's loads of channels. So, you tell me, dear viewer, which channel is the treaty referring to? And therefore, who owns these islands? Is the wording of the treaty maybe a little too vague? Well, that's exactly the problem encountered by the people living in the area. The British insisted that the channel intended by the treaty was the Rosario Strait, and therefore, the islands were British. The Americans, on the other hand, argued that the intended channel was the Harrow Strait, and therefore, the islands were American. At times, the debate became rather heated. Even the individuals who negotiated and signed the treaty at times didn't seem entirely sure which channel the treaty meant, and representatives from the Hudson's Bay Company begged them to make it clearer. But thousands of miles away, the people in power simply had more to worry about than some tiny islands in the middle of nowhere. Order! Order! Shut up! All right, listen up. We got a lot to get through. The 7th Earl of Gissingham says he encountered a wild beast in the fields of Upper Fardingdom late last night and put this...
That can't be his actual name, can it? Surely not.
Encountered
the Earl of Gissingham.
The Earl of Gissingham.
There's no way his name is the Earl of Gissingham. It cannot be.
I feel like you need to Google that later.
I'm
upset that he's in London but not doing a British accent.
Found beast in the fields of Upper Fardingdom late last night and put this sketch together? That's a poor person, Darren. Ugh. Next, Lord Piddlingham says he has a new mole on his backside? How is that parliamentary business, George? Oh, some islands in the Pacific Northwest are in dispute and could lead to a war with America? Boring! Alright, let's take a look at that mole, George. And so, for now,
come on, George, get it out.
Held in dispute.
Get it out.
Were they British or were they American? I'm sure this conflict won't cause anyone to die. And one man who thought the islands were undeniably British was James Douglas, now the governor of Vancouver Island. He had already once had American settlers encroach on his territory and force him to move. And by golly, he wasn't going to let it happen again. As far as he was concerned, those islands were not only British, but prime agricultural land. And given the chance, those glubby Yanks wouldn't hesitate to start pitching flags with their glubby little hands. And so, he came up with a plan. If the British settled the islands first, then that would surely secure them for Britain. And so in 1853, Douglas sent an Irishman by the name of Charles Griffin, along with some Hawaiian shepherds, to go set up a sheep farm on San Juan Island. And set up a sheep farm they did. The place was rammed with sheep, 1,369 to be exact. But within those flocks of woolly cowards could also be found a number of beautiful, prized Berkshire pigs. Oh, Porky, you look stunning. You're the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Would you perhaps like to go to the island ball together tonight? Oink once for no. Roll around in that cow crap if yes. Yes! I'm covered in poo and I'm the luckiest man alive! But life on the island for Charles Griffin wasn't to be a perfect paradise of pig pageants. Because unfortunately for him, the Americans also believed the island was theirs. One day, in 1854, an American customs collector was sailing around the islands on the outlook for bands of native tribesmen when he spotted something. Aha! I've got you now, you savages. Over yonder. Those are sheep, sir. Sheep, you say? What are they doing here? Let's go and negotiate with them. Negotiate with sheep? Are you crazy? I'm perfectly stable, you rat bag. Call me crazy again and I'll eat your eyes! Hello, good sir. We request to speak with your leader. Out of my way. Allow me to parley with this foul beast. Hey, stop threatening my sheep. Your sheep? You mean to tell me that you, a British subject, have illegally imported these sheep into American territory? I'll have you know that you, an American, are currently trespassing on British territory. The Americans felt that they were entitled to collect.
Where did you get these ideas?
You know, because the island was American, and they threatened seizure if dues weren't paid. The British, meanwhile, threatened to arrest the Americans, you know, because the island was British, and the two sides were in a standoff. To give Charles Griffin the legal power to deal with the American trespassers, Douglas said, hey, put on this wig. Boom, you're a magistrate now. And in turn, Griffin went to one of his Hawaiian shepherds and said, hey, I'm making you a constable. Put on this badge. The British then went off to arrest the U.S. Customs inspector. But, being an American, he emerged from his tent with 4 pistols and a giant knife, so the Brits had to back down. Eventually, raids by northern tribes chased the U.S. officer from the island, but the Americans weren't done yet. Officials from nearby Whatcom County in Washington Territory believed the island fell under their jurisdiction, and they decided it was time to make the British pay up.
This whole thing would have been avoided so far if they had just kind of zoomed in and went, oh, should we do it like through there?
Yeah, just go in a little bit more.
Yeah. This whole thing would have been avoided. But isn't it mad? Like, that's the smallest. It's like, it's not even visible to the eye on a map. And humans have found a way to argue over it and have a war. Do you know what I mean?
I find it mad that they said they put like a sheep farm on it. Because when you look at them, I thought, I bet it's not even worth like fighting over anyway. You probably can't even do anything with it.
Yeah. It's weird. But it's one of them ones where if you give it up years later, you find an oil deposit there and all of a sudden it's worth billions. So it's like, ugh.
Once and for all, they sent one Sheriff Barnes to go confront Charles Griffin. Hey, you owe us $80.33 for all this farm stuff you got here. Go suck an egg! Oh, I see. So that's how it is, huh? That's how it's gonna be, is it? That's the way in which things are, eh? That be how it will, is it? Will it be how that is, huh? That be the way in which things be the way they are, is that? Get off my property! So the sheriff and other Whatcom County officials felt they were now well within their rights to seize and auction off Griffin's sheep in order to recoup lost taxes. And who would they auction these prized breeding rams off to? But themselves. Then, in a pretty chaotic scene, they worked to tie the rams to their boats. And when Charles Griffin came running to rescue his kidnapped sheep, being Americans, they pulled out guns on him, and he had to back down. In all, Charles Griffin lost 30
the rule? Like, do the British not have guns?
And he...
Like, even back then, on the islands?
They must have done now, because...
I never really considered that the Americans would have guns, and the British citizens wouldn't.
Yeah, but you've got to think to yourself, he's already pulled a gun on him once and made him back down. Why don't you just get some guns? You think, oh, he's got them.
Yeah.
I better get some.
But that's what I mean. Like, is it British rule in British territories that citizens don't have guns?
That makes sense, because obviously that's the law now, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just, I've never considered that would be the case.
Was furious. The British complained to the American government, who were shocked to hear what had been going on at their northwest border. And both governments told their officials in the area to back off. We're not trying to start a major war over some dumb sheep and a stupid island. But also, the islands are definitely ours. Under no circumstances let the other side have them. For now, both governments agreed to set up yet another boundary commission to decide which channel was the correct border. But it often devolved into petty bickering. The British did make one interesting suggestion, though. We could draw the border through this middle channel and split the islands between us. Well, that would be a completely fair compromise that protects the interests of both parties. And there's no way I'm ever gonna agree to it! And in the aftermath of the sheep raid,
we're being
James
rational.
Douglas, still stationed at Fort
He's being
Victoria,
greedy.
became even more cautious of American encroachment into his territory. Mr. Douglas, sir, it appears an Indian has discovered gold in the Fraser Canyon, just north of here. Shut up! Keep your voice down, boy. We can't risk those glubby Americans hearing about this, or our territory here will be infested with them. Oh no!
the little trolleys.
The Fraser Canyon gold rush attracted a heap of Americans to the region. Some got lucky. Most did not. And of those that didn't, rather than returning all the way home, many simply decided to settle in the area. And in particular, the juicy green pastures of San Juan Island were rather appealing. Believing the island was American territory, around a dozen American
It's
settlers
freezing
moved
up there
there
as well.
in the late 1850s. One of them was a man named Lyman Cutler, a young man in his mid-20s, and lazy as pie. He didn't want to have to clear a space in the forest to build his home, so he said, I'll just build my cabin right in the middle of this British sheep run. I'm sure that won't make anyone mad. When he planted potato seeds in his garden, rather than building a nice protective fence around them, he said, I'll just fence in 3 sides and hope all these British farm animals have a moral compass and respect my property rights. Griffin's pig was a Berkshire, well known
Sorry.
for root.
You know, we're saying that the area then was where the gold rush was, and
Yeah.
all the Americans went there.
Yeah.
Well, that's on British territory, so why were they allowed to go?
There's probably there's not like a border, is there? It's just like that's where our country ends and begins. But I suppose there's no one there to actually stop people from walking in to each side.
But I thought probably in them days they'd have the rule of you found it on British land, so you have to either pay a tax on it or you can't have it or something.
Yeah. I suppose there's no one actually stop people crossing the border.
Yeah, true, and taking things back over the border.
Yeah, but you would think the British would have protected that. Do you know what I mean? From the Americans taking it. I don't know. It's weird. It seems like it seems like both governments were just winging it as they went. Do you know what I
I
mean?
think they're so focused on just getting one up on each other
Yeah.
that they're not thinking about preserving what they've got.
Rooting,
Yeah.
and Lyman's fairly pathetic fence made for a bad combination. Numerous times he had to chase the pig away from his property, and he once angrily marched up to Griffin's home, saying, Hey, British farm idiot, keep your stupid pig out of my potatoes. It is up to you to keep your potatoes out of my pig. Griffin was furious with his new American neighbors. They built their homes all over his sheep pastures. And besides, what right did they have to be here anyway? It was British territory. Lyman, on the other hand, swore the local government had assured him his land claims were legitimate, and so to him, the British were out of line. Look at that sick freak. In love with his pig. Isn't that just sick? Yeah, what a freak. Not like our love, Spuddy. Ours is all natural. Yep, just a man and his potato. Nothing wrong with that. But the tension between Lyman and Griffin was just about to explode. What the? Spuddy? All right, you damn dirty pig. That's the final straw.
How
Lyman
dramatic.
shot the pig. After taking a second to
Oh
calm
my
down,
God, no.
he felt
Don't
bad
burn
about
his house
murdering
down.
Griffin's prized boar. So he went to him and said, Hey man, look, I kinda just killed your pig. It was eating my potatoes again, and I don't know, man, I kinda just killed your pig. Killed your pig. Killed your pig.
Jesus.
No, the swine is the one I killed. I'm Lyman. Griffin demanded Lyman pay $100 for the loss of the pig, an outrageous sum at the time. Obviously, Lyman refused, threatening to shoot any more animals that dared enter his property, even threatening to shoot Griffin himself. When Griffin complained to James Douglas, British officials went and confronted the pig killer. Again, they insisted he pay up, and if he didn't, Lyman claimed they threatened to arrest him and take him back to Victoria. British officials arresting an American on American soil and trying him under British law? Now that's controversial. And it's a controversy that attracted the attention of an American general in charge of the Department of Oregon, one William S. Harney. This guy, General Harney, had a reputation. He's the kind of guy who invades Mexico without orders, wasting valuable resources and creating an embarrassing situation for everyone involved. He's the kind of guy who has one of his own men arrested for writing the wrong header on a report. He's the kind of guy who finds a dog digging up his yard and then chases it for 1.5 miles just to give it a beating. He hated superiors, hated being told what to do, and had been court-martialed 4 times for disobeying orders. Contemporaries described him as an imbecile, all matter and no mind, an arrogant humbug, and a laughingstock. Like I said, General Harney had a reputation. He hated the British and was out for any opportunity to earn personal glory for himself. By some accounts, he even wanted to become president. And so, in July 1859, when he happened to visit San Juan Island, and he learned of the plight of the Americans living there, the shooting of a pig, and the British threat to arrest Lyman Cutler, General Harney went into scheme mode. Hey yo, Captain Pickett. Yes, sir. Listen carefully. I need you to go pick up some flowers.
What is going on? I feel like Oversimplified, like, there's like everyone in the Oversimplified, no matter who you are, you come across as an absolute lunatic, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, you never really get fair representation, man. Like, if you're not funny, he'll make you funny, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh.
That's brilliant.
He's crazy though, sounds crazy.
Bring them to my place later. I've got a plan. Here I am, sir. What's the plan? Pickett, you and I are going to start a war. What do you mean, sir? Okay, listen up. An American man shoots a worthless pig on San Juan Island, and the British threaten to arrest him. Outrageous. But we can use it. We get the settlers there to send us a petition saying they need American troops for protection. That's when you go with your men and occupy the island. The British will find American troops on an island they consider theirs so offensive, they won't hesitate to blow you to smithereens. Then, it's war. We bring in reinforcements and we fight back. I'll write to Washington, D.C., letting them know what's happening. But here's the kicker. My letter will take 6 whole weeks to get there. Before the government even gets a chance to respond, telling me I'm an idiot and ordering me to cease fire, the island will be ours. Hell, we could even invade Vancouver Island or British Columbia. It's foolproof. Wow, very impressive, sir. But I gotta ask, why? Well, I'll level with you, Pickett. Historians still contest exactly what it is I'm trying to do here. It's possible I'm trying to expand America's territory. Maybe I'm trying to play the hero so I can become president. Some have even suggested that since I'm a slave-owning Southerner, I may be trying to create a diversion to help the South secede in the upcoming Civil War. But if there's one thing that almost everyone can agree on, it's that I'm an idiot. I see. But hold on, what'd you tell me to bring flowers for? Because, Pickett, they're pretty and I like them! There are also historians who believe that Harney and Pickett had no secret plan at all, and were not scheming masterminds, but simply hot-headed buffoons, genuinely outraged at the audacity of the British, and trying to protect American citizens. But the fact of the matter is, Pickett took the very controversial and extremely provocative act of landing American troops on disputed territory. He set up his...
It's mad that back then you could just, like, if you was like a general, you could just take your troops with no permission from the government because communication took that long.
Yeah.
Like, obviously you couldn't do that today. Like, you couldn't just be like, if you was a general, oh, we're going to go land some troops in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just wouldn't happen. But back then, like, the amount of power you had, even as like a general or like a colonel.
Do you think it was still quite rare for people to do though?
No.
No?
Nah, I don't think so. Oh. Nah, especially not the Americans. They just done what they wanted, didn't they? Just didn't give a shit, man.
Camp in a very exposed position and erected a very provocative sign proclaiming that only American laws applied on the island. It was almost like he was asking to be fired upon. Or, again, maybe he was just an idiot. When a British official sent to the island to get rid of the unruly American settlers now saw that there were American troops, he demanded they leave. He was obviously told to go suck an egg. When Douglas found out, he was enraged. To him, the American landing constituted an invasion. Harney sent a report back to the War Department in DC, justifying his actions with exaggerated claims of British villainy. But he knew it would take 6 weeks to get there, and another 6 weeks for their reply to come back. For now, the situation was entirely in the hands of local military and government officials, and the ball was in the British court. With the temperamental governor Douglas,
It's 3 months to communicate. Well, it's 3 months to communicate with the government. Like 6 weeks there, 6 weeks back. That's 3 months before you get an answer to a letter.
6 weeks.
Yeah, that's insane, isn't it? I know, obviously, it makes sense, but
yeah, but you can like his plan. Obviously, you can be done with whatever you want to do in that time, can't you?
yeah.
to come back. For now, the situation was entirely in the hands of local military and government officials, and the ball was in the British court. Would the temperamental Governor Douglas and the powerful British Navy respond to the American provocation with force? Were Britain and America really about to go to war over the shooting of a pig? Well,
Fair.
if one man were to have his way, it's entirely possible they would. James Douglas had already had Americans force him out of Oregon. They had threatened his position in Victoria during the gold rush. Now they had invaded his island, and he had had it. It was time to turn to the Royal Navy. You, Captain Hornby, go to the island and prevent any more Americans from landing. And take this magistrate with you to arrest Captain Pickett. Use force if necessary. Just don't do anything to start a war. Wait, you want me to use force but not start a war? Oh, I'm sorry. Is that too much to ask, princess? When Captain Hornby got to the island and saw that the American force there was even larger than expected, his concern grew. He sent word back to Douglas, who in response ordered even more ships to the island. And at this point, the naval officers were like, hey man, let's talk. They were concerned Douglas's escalation was leading them to war, and they convinced him it probably wasn't a terribly good idea to just go up to an American military captain with his armed men and say, hey bucko, you're under arrest. Please don't shoot me. Douglas gave in. To prevent any hostilities, he canceled all orders and told the Navy, for now, to simply keep an eye on the Americans. He did send one more ship for good measure. Captain Pickett, now seeing the British ships with their guns aimed directly at his exposed camp, said, see Jeff? Look at that. We're about to get blown to bits. All according to plan. Hang on. Oh crap, Jeff, we're about to get blown to bits!
When he read out the plan, I was thinking, I wonder if he's going to pull him off on the fact that he's going to die during the plan.
Yeah, I just thought all these people are just willing to help out.
To sacrifice themselves for a pig. The rights of a pig. And this would have been so, like, fun to have learnt in school, though, do you know what I mean? Because no kid would ever believe you. No kid would be like, we didn't go to war over a pig. Like, no, we did.
But do American kids learn this in school?
I don't know. That's a good question. Do you learn about the pig war in school? I take it you learn about the Revolution and the Civil War. Do you learn about the pig war? I don't know. I don't even know. Does American do foreign history in school at all? I doubt it. But then what do you study for 12 years?
There's enough American history though, I suppose, to...
I mean, yeah, American history, but not world history, do you know what I mean? I don't really know. Do you learn about like the Greeks, the Romans and the Egyptians and stuff like that, or is that just a European or the rest of the world thing?
Let us know.
I do not know.
Run! Pickett hastily moved his camp from its very exposed position to another position, which, as it happened, was also very exposed. It probably won't surprise you to learn Pickett came dead last in his graduating class. Nearby American and British officials began showing up to ask Pickett what the heck he was even doing. Then, a bunch of tourists showed up, because a major war breaking out in their doorstep was the single most exciting thing to ever happen in any of their miserable frontier lives. One Charles Griffin was particularly unhappy. First his pig had been shot. Now his sheep pastures were being trampled by soldiers and tourists alike. He complained to Governor Douglas, who was still pretty upset about the whole thing. Douglas felt British honor itself was at stake. So he decided that if American forces were allowed to be on the island, well then by golly, the British should be there too. It would be a joint
I like how the
military
British just have
occupation.
sideburns and a
Upon
mustache.
hearing Douglas's
That's
new
what makes them
plan to
British.
land British troops on the island, Captain Hornby decided to go speak with Pickett in person. After informing him of the plan, Pickett replied that if they dared land, he would open fire. So there they were. The British had orders to land. The Americans had orders to prevent their landing. This was it. War. Over a small island in the middle of nowhere. Over a pig and some potatoes. Over whether the US-Canada border looked like this or like this. It was stupid. Hold on. This is stupid. To heck with it. I'm not landing those troops. I'm not gonna be the one who starts a war. The captain decided not to follow Douglas's order. And good thing he didn't, because pretty soon after that, the leading British admiral in the entire Pacific region showed up. Rear Admiral Baines outranked Governor Douglas. When he heard of everything that had been going on, he was stunned. But when he heard that Hornby had refused Douglas's plan to land troops, Baines could have kissed him. Whether he did or not, history doesn't tell. But I like to think they did. The Rear Admiral canceled all of Douglas's orders and instead pursued a policy of not interfering with the Americans until he could contact the British government. The Americans, not knowing the British no longer intended to land, had sent reinforcements and began fortifying. But even still, the British Navy did nothing. And finally, when word made it across the planet, informing the two governments of the ongoing crisis, everyone was shocked. Holy crap! Harney landed troops on disputed territory? Man, I hope the British don't find out about this. Buchanan? Oh crap! The British! Why are we getting reports of American troops on San Juan Island? Whoa. I don't know, man. Nothing to do with me. But you're the president. What? Breckenridge? Am I the president? Yes, sir. And hey, we got a problem. It looks like the southern states are considering seceding. And we're headed for the biggest crisis in the history of the nation. And it's your job to fix it, sir. Sir? Oh no. Go away. Not the curtain again, Mr. President. I'm not here. Buchanan. Back in the Pacific Northwest, Harney was
That's what you
beginning
be
to
like.
realize
Yeah.
that he may not
Stress.
be terribly impressed with his reckless actions. So he began firing off even more aggressive letters, justifying what he had done. Tell him the British were sending bands of Indians to attack our men, and that they're big meanies with coal for hearts, and that they made me cry like a little girl. Wait, no, that makes me sound weak. They made me cry like a big girl. Yeah, that's it. When the president received Harney's new letters, his anxiety only grew stronger. Oh, crap. Hey, General Scott, please make this go away. Leave it to me, sir. General Winfield Scott was the commanding general of the entire U.S. Army. Well known for his negotiation skills, he was a veteran of the Mexican-American War, during which time he had had to deal with General Harney's idiocy and insubordination. And he watched as Harney got away
How
with
has
it.
this guy still
thanks
got a
to-
job though? Do you know what I mean? Do you reckon he just...
like free to roam?
Yeah, honestly, do you reckon he's just one of them ones where he knows a lot of people? It's got to be, isn't it?
Maybe.
Like his family's kind of a dynasty in power.
Maybe.
It's got to be in it, proper aristocrat.
To his friends in high places. It's
Aristocrat.
safe to say that Scott
Aristocrat. Sorry.
really did not like
Aristocrat.
General
The
Harney.
aristocrats.
By now, General Scott was racked with gout, and he was so big he had to be hoisted onto his ship in a basket. Nevertheless, he began the long journey to the Pacific Northwest. Okay,
That is a journey,
everyone,
that is.
Why
get
would you
over
go
here.
across land?
Will somebody
longer.
please tell me what the heck is going on? I'll tell you, General. It all started on one fateful day last summer. Spuddy?
Imagine hearing this story,
All right,
and this
you
is why
damn
you've just been
dirty
on a boat
pig.
for 16 weeks or whatever.
That's the final straw. What? Hey, you can't get away from me! Look at that pig. Nowhere left to run, eh? I'm gonna enjoy this.
Ryman, if you spare my life, I grant you 3 wishes.
He sounded like Morgan Freeman, but he also sounded like Father from Fallout 4. Like, you know when you meet your son, but he's actually yeah.
So you see, General, the pig wasn't even on his property when he shot it. Liar! He's lying to you, General. I'll tell you what really happened. What a pleasant summer's afternoon here on my humble farm. It's just me and my beloved potatoes. I'm so happy. Say, Lyman, them some nice spuds you got there. Would be a shame if somebody ate them. No, not again, you beast! Leave my potatoes alone! Yeah, I'm gonna eat them, Lyman. I'll eat them, and then I'm gonna eat you. Stay back! I'll shoot! Go ahead, punk. Make my day. Shoot me! Shoot me! He made me do it! He made me do it! So you're telling me you guys nearly started a war with the strongest naval power in the world over the shooting of a pig? Yeah, now he's starting to get it. Not only the pig, sir. The British then threatened to arrest this poor, pure American soul. Thank you, General. Shut up. I don't care about you. Okay. I've made up my mind. You're an idiot. 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 You guys are fine. And you two are the most mind-numbingly brain-dead ding-dongs I've ever encountered in all my life. And I'll see you in my office. Okay, Harney, listen. I cut a deal with the Brits. Here's how it's gonna be. Both sides will maintain a small force on the island for a joint military occupation until our two governments can decide who owns the island. Now, the only way they'd agree to that is if Pickett is removed from command, so I'm replacing him with Captain Hunt here. Now, Harney, listen to me. Do not, under any circumstances, put Pickett back on that island, okay?
He didn't lose his job.
Harney.
Are you joking? This guy hasn't lost his job. What have you got to do back then to get fired? This guy nearly started a war. He's just like, yeah, don't worry about it.
Promise we won't do it again.
Promise.
Do not order Pickett back onto the island. Understood? Yes, sir. Good. I'll see you, Glubos, later. Is he gone? I think so. Good. Hunt, you're fired. Pickett, you're going back on the island. All right, you psychopath. I've been waiting years. I hate you. I've always hated you. Harney had not only ordered Pickett back onto the island, but his department even notified the British that it did not recognize the joint occupation settlement, while everyone else had decided on peace. Harney appeared to still be threatening war. Needless to say, a furious Winfield Scott soon removed him from command and sent him elsewhere. In Harney's absence, the joint occupation went ahead, and the troops actually got along together quite well. The British attended 4th of July celebrations at the American
I'm not
camp.
going to lie though, that doesn't surprise me. I feel like just normal, average people, they don't really care that much.
No.
It's just the loons that are in charge and in power, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, if you put 100 Americans, 100 British on the island now, within a week they'd be mates with each other, do you know what I mean? I think that's the same as any country with any other country on the planet.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like that's a lot of war things, isn't it, though? Like
Yeah, bar the Israeli and Palestinians. I feel like there's... bar them.
Bar them. But like, in general wars in the past, if the soldiers are left to it and found that they're both whatever.
Yeah.
Went ahead, and the troops actually got along together quite well. The British attended 4th of July celebrations at the American camp, while the Americans visited the British for Queen Victoria's birthday. Even Pickett became good friends with his British counterpart. War, it seemed, had been avoided, thanks largely to the level-headed actions of the Royal Navy and General Winfield Scott. Of course, the islands were still in dispute, and the question of who exactly owned them still had to be answered. That answer would have to wait, because while San Juan was at peace, the nation was tearing itself apart. When Civil War broke out in 1861, the issue of San Juan just wasn't that important. Harney, despite being a Southerner, remained in the U.S. Army, but was eventually removed from command at St. Louis when his loyalty to the Union came under suspicion. More famously, Captain Pickett, a native Virginian, went on to become a Confederate general. Pickett's charge at the Battle of Gettysburg remains one of the most famous moments of the entire war and marked a major turning point.
I remember
U.S. relations with Britain actually soured during the war. The British, missing their supply of southern cotton, initially looked like they may intervene on the side of the...
that during that time, 80% of the world's cotton come from the American South?
What, it didn't grow anywhere else?
No, like, I mean, it was just being picked, manufactured, and sent at 80%.
That's crazy.
That's
80%?
80% of the world's cotton.
That's mad.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I heard it. They must have been minted off that. Yeah. And, like, obviously, it was slave labour, so you weren't paying anything for...
Oh, of course, yeah, that time.
Yeah, so, like, can you imagine the profit people were making? Oh, like, that's... I fully get generational wealth. Like, them owners, their families probably still have them estates and... like that generational level of wealth.
But I feel like when you go down in the generations now where you kind of know how they got so wealthy, there's that moral,
let's talk about.
U.S. relations with Britain actually soured during the war. Missing their supply of southern cotton initially looked like they may intervene on the side of the Confederacy. There was the Trent Affair, when Confederate diplomats were discovered and arrested on a British mail steamer. And then there were the British-built ships sold to the Confederacy that wreaked havoc on northern commerce. When the Civil War ended, furious American politicians called on the British to pay reparations. And by now, a long list of hot issues exists.
What's this? British Confederate edition. Fishing rights. Oh, so we sold ships to the south? That's pretty bad, that is. I didn't know that.
Is that on the back of what was going on with the pig war? Just think we'll support the South?
No, I think because we were getting our cotton from them, they wanted the South to win so they can continue business. So they sold them ships to wedge them in the war. I mean, I remember he talked about in the Civil War video that even though they was at war, the North was still profiteering off slave labour. Like, they were still getting it from the South during the war and like manufacturing it and then selling it on. So there's a lot to it than that. Jeez, I didn't know the British had a level of involvement in the Civil War, which is kind of naive to think, but...
between them. And yes, on that list remained, 12 years later, still the issue of who owned these gosh darn islands. That issue, it was finally agreed, would be submitted to international arbitration. The Empire of Germany would decide, with the British and Americans presenting arguments. The American argument was reportedly presented with a little more pizzazz, a little more zing. And in the end, when the Germans made their decision, they awarded the San Juan Islands to the United States. When an aging Douglas heard the news, he said that there was no possible way the British argument had been presented correctly. But that was that. The British conceded. And on the 25th of November, 1872, the last British troops left the island. As the Americans entered the British camp to raise their flag, they found that the British had removed the flagpole. One last up yours to Uncle Sam.
Love it.
By this time, Charles Griffin had already left the island, and the Hudson's Bay Company eventually sold their sheep farm. And so, there you have it. A dangerous situation that almost brought two great powers to war, triggered by the shooting of a pig. But thanks to more level-headed minds and an eagerness for peace and cooperation, conflict was avoided, and the only casualty of this pig war was, well, just a pig. But how different could things have been?
Just a pig.
What if the British had attempted to arrest Pickett? What if they had landed troops? Could the two sides have actually gone to war? Could America have invaded Canada? Could it, perhaps, still invade Canada? Think about it. Why not? We have the manpower. We have the arms. It's our manifest destiny. Picture a future where American Mounties wear red, white, and blue and hail the stars and stripes. Where Wayne Gretzky would wave the American flag every 4th of July in the streets of Montreal. Maple syrup, the greatest American food. Banff, the greatest American national park. One united nation under the leadership of our glorious president, Drake. No longer shall we tolerate our smart neighbors to the north with their affordable insulin and endless comments complaining that I don't talk about Canada enough. That's right, Canadians. Watch your backs. Sleep with one eye open tonight. Because Biden's coming, baby. And this time, he's coming with a vengeance.
What the hell?
Biden. Yeah. Bloody Biden. Have you seen that Shane Gillis skit when he's on about Biden? He says at the end of every speech he turns into a rumba. When he's like that. And he just bumps into the wall.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he said at the end of every Biden speech he just turns into a rumba. Just lads walking around the stage.
Where do I go? What am I doing?
Oh, that was a good video. And I'll tell you what, I'm not going to lie. Because I knew nothing about it, I thought it was going to be a bigger deal than it was. Like, them small islands and a pig, I thought.
I really, really enjoyed that, though, to be fair. I really was just sucked into it.
It's just insane that, like, if you, like... It's such a small, insignificant bit of island, but it's just two nations. Well a set of people that were just greed. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it wasn't even about the islands. It was about him killing the pig.
I know, yeah.
Realistically, if someone killed your pet, you just batter them and burn their house down and that would be it. You wouldn't start a war.
Not back then.
Not back then.
I feel like back in the day when people loved the war, didn't they?
Any excuse.
Yeah, any excuse to have a little toss. Let's go, man. I really enjoy that. I'm kind of sad that we've done all the oversimplifieds now. I suppose we just have to wait for the next one.
6 months?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, what... If I could request an oversimplified video, what I'd want. I can't help but feel like I'd want one about Genghis Khan.
Oh, you'd love that.
I'd love a Genghis Khan.
I'd love that. I'm trying to think what maybe they haven't covered and what could be next, but I feel like sometimes there are things that are really well known, then you've got things like this that...
Yeah. You know, it'd be a good one. The Gulf War.
Well, that'd be a good one.
I
don't know much about that.
I'd like that. Or I'd like even like a more modern one, like Iraq, Afghanistan, something like that. Because you got to think that started like 10, 15, 20 years ago now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that was years, wasn't it?
Well, 2004, 2003, the invasion of Iraq, right? After 9/11. Yeah, 2003. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'd go for that.
Who knows what his plans are? How long does it take him to make them though? It takes him a good 6 months.
Yeah, it takes him ages, man. But I get it,
Worth
man.
It.
I get it because he's got to do all the research as well, hasn't he? That's one thing that you forget. Like the animation's going to take long in itself. Actually doing the research and putting it together in a comedic way is ages because he definitely writes the script, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a wiki creator though.
Oh yeah, he
so
deserves everything. Yeah. Like if you look at his subs, 8 million subs. He's got about what 20 vids, 20 videos, something like that.
But they've got millions, like 46 million.
No, he fully deserves it though. He deserves everything.
100%.
That was a good one, the Prohibition, wasn't it? I enjoyed that one.
I like that one.
Yeah, so drop your comments below. We don't mind history vids, absolutely anything, man. Yeah, drop them below and we'll get them done as soon as we can. Obviously, I say it at the end of most vids, I'm kind of an inconsistent uploader just because of how much we work, do you know what I mean? Like, and when we do get a day off, we need to have a day off together.
Yeah.
But I may potentially start going back to some videos on my own as well.
Yeah.
Just because it's hard for us both to correlate our days off, do you know what I mean? So, it get a bit tough. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll keep them coming. Look forward to seeing you guys again in the future. And also, I'll put my my PlayStation, what's it called?
Handle?
PlayStation gamer tag in the description below. So if you want to add me on PlayStation, have a game of anything, let's go, man. Because I've only got like 3 friends and they're all from work, so that kind of says a lot about me as a person.
And you won't play with me because I'm too competitive.
Yeah, you go in a bad mood over anything. Right, take it easy, guys. It was a pleasure seeing you, and we'll see you again soon.